Yeah, this is the chapter that really changed American, actually worldwide business everywhere. But anyway, so and this is called relevant cost, and this is back in the time where we used to always use all the accounting numbers to make decisions that would come on your financial statements, and they would have all kinds of costs in there that you can't control, fixed costs, rent, things like that, and the economists were all telling people, look, you should make decisions based on relevant costing, marginal costing. And in your econ classes, they talk about how you will produce as long as you cover your variable costs. And that's one thing that Charles C. Harmon took to heart. And this chapter 11 was really something that changed business decision making all over. So let's take a look here. Open it up, I guess. That would be the next best thing. Oh, I know what I want to tell you guys first. In Blackboard, the drop for the chapter 10 exam. I didn't have it up there. So this, you can actually submit the chapter 10 exam if you when you're done with it now, which would really help grades. The fact that you can submit the classwork. But anyway, the chapter 10, I think it's due this Friday, if I'm not mistaken. Check. Yeah, it's due Friday. Okay. So let's go to chapter 11, relevant costs. And we're going to go all the way to the end of this thing. Whee! So at the very end. Okay, that was kind of fun. Let's do it again. Whee! Okay, that's enough of that. So this is the, you can kind of go over a little bit of what relevant costs are. Oops. Relevant costs are costs that change between alternatives. And this also goes, it's often called relevant cost, but it also goes through for sales and things like that. Now, sales are usually kind of the easy part, but if sales could increase or decrease, it could also be there. But we mostly focus on relevant cost because most of the time we're talking about the cost of the revenues are whatever they are, whatever we charge for something. Okay, and let's see how this works out. So we have two alternatives here. We have Happy Meal A and Happy Meal B. And we are going to figure out, so we're trying to make a decision between these two. Nothing else on the menu, just these two. Happy Meal A, Happy Meal B. Are the Cokes relevant to the decision? So we're going to get one of these two. Oh, come on. Relevant or not relevant? Okay, fine, I'll just tell you. Relevant costs are those that change between alternatives. So these cokes are not relevant because they're the same. So these will not be relevant to our decision. Same with the fries, they're exactly the same. Same with a toy. Now, the one that is relevant is this one, because it is different between the alternatives. So when we're making a decision, they must change between the alternatives. Now, this is only for the decision making. This doesn't mean that we don't want the Cokes or the fries or the toy, or that we think that those are worthless and we're not going to pay for them or anything like that. It just means we're standing there, we're trying to make a decision between these two, and the only thing that's different is hamburger, cheeseburger. This is the decision. Nothing else here is a decision. These are going to be there either way. So to be relevant, it has to change or differ between alternatives. Sometimes you see this written like this. Oops. You see it written incorrectly. Saying, oh, must be Mr. Taylor writing that. We're usually talking about costs. It could be other data too. It could be, but anyway, they must change or they must differ between the alternatives. If they're exactly the same, they're not relevant to a decision. Not saying they don't exist, just that they're not relevant to a decision. Okay. Since fixed costs do not change, they are not relevant. So fixed costs do not change, they're not relevant. Let me put one more caveat on there. Fixed costs do change. The marginal change is relevant. So generally speaking, fixed costs don't change, and by definition, if they're fixed, they don't change. Now, if there is something that does change the total cost, only the amount that it changes by is relevant. Let me give you an example. Okay, notice that ABC sells 5,000 bikes per month. Scratch that. Pays rent of $5,000 per month. They sell 1,000 bicycles per month. Okay, so this rent of 5,000, how much would it change if we sold more bicycles? Okay, if ABC sells additional 200 bicycles, how much will the monthly rent increase? You can put this in chat if you want. So they're paying $5,000 a month. They're making 1,000 bikes a month. Now, if they sell an additional 250 bicycles, how much will the monthly rent increase by? Anyone? Oh, come on, somebody. Correct. Making up words. It's not going to increase at all. The landlord doesn't care. They're getting $5,000 a month. They don't care. I mean, they have bad attitudes, but they don't care what it's going to increase by. And I'm going to show you one more thing that can be a little bit tricky, and that is the fixed cost per unit can change. I'm going to come down here. So let's take up here fixed cost per unit. We had $5,000 per month. And we're going to divide it by 1,000 bikes. And so that's going to equal, let me change this for a second. Sticks out. Oh, 5,000 divided by 1,000, what, $5? So the per unit doesn't change. The per unit can change, and I'll show you that in a second, but the total amount won't. Now, if we come down here, if we make an extra, if we make an extra 250 bicycles, this will look like this. So now we're making 1,250. I think this is $4 per bike. So the per unit cost will change, but the total, notice that this does not. We're just going to spread it out over more bicycles. So the 5,000 won't change. It's not relevant. So the per unit, we really don't look at too much when it comes to fixed costs, because the total doesn't change. Oops. Hey, wow, that was kind of cool looking. Look at that. Well, it's not doing it now. Darn it. Any questions on that? So in total, fixed costs don't change. So total fixed costs don't change. So generally speaking, unless you're given information otherwise, the fixed costs are going to be different. The fixed costs are not relevant. So all those fixed costs are not relevant. And by the way, one of the when you see companies nowadays, one of the reasons why they really concentrate on having as much cost into fixed costs is kind of this idea. For instance, they have robots working in factories rather than people. Sometimes it's more dangerous, and there's other things going on. But part of the reason for that is that it's a fixed cost, and when it comes to producing cars, it's not relevant. So the money that you put into the decision, the decision for making the cars, and that the money you put into these robots that is going to be a fixed cost. It's not going to change. Whatever you put into it, you put into it. That is going to make it not be part of the decision making. And so, but it also leads to, that's why they have to run these auto manufacturers around the clock, because they have to make up for those, cover those fixed costs. Okay, sunk cost, it's historical cost. Costs that were paid in the past are never relevant. I'll put one more, I'll take a little more on there. Costs that are paid in the past are never relevant. So historical costs or sunk costs are not relevant because they cannot be changed in the present day. In other words, some costs will be the same for every alternative. So sunk costs are never relevant. What you paid for something that makes no has no impact on a decision today. So sunk or historical costs. And so this is an important concept. Whatever you paid for something, whether it was 10 years ago or 10 days ago, that's not relevant, because whatever alternative you're going to have for today's decision, that's not going to change, based on the alternatives. So when it comes to decision making, sunk costs are never relevant. And you hear people say, well, we should replace this truck, but we just bought it last year, and yeah, I know we're losing money on it or whatever. But we just bought it. I mean, it's a sunk cost. It's not relevant to the decision. And that's one of those things that is not intuitive always. Someone say, you buy something, and what it costs is really important as far as how you use it. Now, when it comes to decision making, we can't jump in the time machine, go back and unpurchase this truck, right? So things that are in the past, that you paid in the past, are not relevant. So decision making is kind of by its nature future oriented. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. That's in the past. I'll tell you a wild one that I had when I worked at Navistar. This actually happened before I was there, but this is like one of the a clear example of this. They make trucks, and at some point, I don't know how it happened, but they decided they were going to make this big giant building that was all computerized. It was all robots and stuff, and it was like a huge, kind of like an ice cube tray, but standing upright. And they would all the parts had bins, and so what they would do is they have all these different engines and seats and all this other stuff. And they're in this huge building that had all these bins, and so if this truck, if truck whatever 512 needed seat A73, it would go on the build sheet A73. This thing would automatically go pull that seat and put it on the production line, and it would go into onto the truck and whatever. So that was this big thing. Now, those of you who are, if you studied managerial accounting, management, decision making, this is not good. This, they talk about just in time, the stuff coming there, and going in the assembly line, so you don't have this huge amount. Well, this thing was filled with like a year's worth of inventory, and it was just a mess. And it took a huge amount of effort to, it actually, they thought it would like reduce the amount of people that would be involved. It vastly increased it, because now you have these people that had to keep track of these bins. They had to fill the bins, log in where they went to and all this stuff. And then, if there's ever a problem with it and they didn't know where it was, then it was a nightmare trying to find it, because now you got this big, huge ice cube tray with all these things moving around. And anyway, they worked it for about 6 months, and they spent, I don't know, tens of millions of dollars on this thing. These for like, I think it was just over 6 months, and they said, look, we can't keep running this thing, it's going to bankrupt us. So they just walked away from it, and they had a write-off. I think the write-off was something like 50 million. It was opened and used in the same year. Open, used, and closed in the same year. But anyway, it was a sunk cost. There's nothing, they couldn't go back and unbuy this thing. Okay, opportunity cost. P in there. Opportunity costs are the costs that were not I shouldn't say cost. I say value. Sorry about that. And I will give you an example that's near and dear to you. So coming to school, you have your tuition, you have your books, you have your your costs for your tuition, your books, your housing, your all the stuff that goes into going to school. All these costs that go into it. But there actually is one more thing that you got to take into account, and that is, if you weren't in class and going to school and taking the time doing this, what else could you be doing? We're all here right now. If we weren't here, what could we be doing? Or even if you're watching this, the tape of it, yeah, exactly, working. you could be doing another job, right? I mean, and even if you're watching it, oh, well, I am working, but I'm watching it, the same thing. The time that you spent watching this video, you could be doing something else, earning money. Now that is real because those are in today's, dollars and so on. That part of it working that you could be making X amount of, you have all this tuition, room and board, and the books and transportation, all this stuff. On top of it, there is that one more additional cost, and that is the opportunity cost. And that opportunity cost is what you're foregoing to get your education. So those are actually, these are relevant. Opportunity costs are relevant to a decision. So if someone offered you a job for $200,000, but they said, "Look, we can't have you going to school. We need you doing this job." Well, then you may very well take the job because that's an opportunity. It is relevant to the decision. Okay. All right. Well, let's look at jump into some of the problems. We're going to do a few different types of problems for this. And the one that we're going to start out with is the one-time special order. So this is problem number 1. 1 second here. Okay. So they make XYZ Corporation makes parts for military contractors. Regular production is as follows. Okay, so this is their regular production they normally make. And that's how I normally goof up the spacing on these on every problem. Okay, so here are the costs for making them, the variable cost per unit. A contractor who is not a regular XYZ customer would like to place a one-time special order for components. The order is as follows. Okay, so here is the one-time special order. And usually one-time special orders are orders in which someone wants to buy a lot of items, and usually what goes along with that is they want a great price. So usually these are large orders of, we're doing a promotion and we want however many of these things that you're making. We're gonna put in a big order, but we want a good price for it. We don't pay the regular price. We know we can buy them for $50, but we want to buy them for less because we're putting in this big order. And the question is, should you take the order or not? So the decision is, I don't know if you guys can see it on my screen. I got this weird, like, preview thing that drops down and covers my screen up when I go from sharing to not sharing, or other way around, not sharing to sharing. Anyway, okay, so here's one-time special order. Okay, XYZ has the excess capacity to produce a special order without changing the regular production. Should they accept the order? All right, now we are going to try to find out how do we figure this one out? So here's the alternatives. We could have our regular production, and we can do the special order, or we can not take the special order and just do the regular production only. So what is relevant to our decision? What's relevant to our decision? The regular production, the special order, or both? Happy Meals. So what's going to be relevant? These are the alternatives. Yeah. The only thing that's relevant is this. The special order is relevant. The production is the same. It doesn't matter if we do A or B. The production, the regular production, we don't have to do anything with that. It's not going to change. So the special order is relevant. Nothing else there is. The regular production is not relevant. We're not saying we're not going to do it. We are going to do it. It's just that between the alternatives, there's no decision to be made. So we're going to come down here and we're going to have our special order. And that's all we're going to work with is our special order. Let me do something here. Because the regular production is not going to change, we're not going to do any of our calculations for regular production. It's not going to matter. They're the same either way. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We have this one-time special order. We're going to see what our additional sales will be. See what our additional variable costs will be. Okay. Our additional fixed costs will be, and this will tell us what our additional income is. So again, this is for the special order only that we're doing this. We're not going to worry about the regular production. You know, this 10,000 units at $50 each, whatever, that we're not going to worry about that. Okay. So here's our one-time special order. And they want a selling price of $40. So our sales will increase by $40. They want it for 1,000 units. So our additional sales will be 40,000. Sorry, I clapped my hands there. I'm freezing. I'm in my basement. It's cold out or something. I put that in the wrong spot. Sorry about that. Okay, so our additional our additional sales will be $40,000. That's what we're selling it for. Okay, our Additional variable costs. Now, these variable costs, we could do these separately. I'm going to do them all at once. Total variable cost per unit is 10 plus 12 plus 8. What is that? 30? I think it's 30. You want to check that. Yeah, that's 20 and that's 10. That'll be 30. Okay. We'll line these up a little better. Okay, so we have $30 for total variable cost per unit. So all these together, we can put them out. We can put them separately in the income statement, but I'm going to put them in, together. It's just easier. Okay, so additional variable costs are $30. We are selling, or we're selling 1,000 of these. Now, these are going to be costs, so these are going to be negative. So this will be negative 30,000. I'll clean this up in a second. Okay. That probably makes it look worse. So this is our total variable cost per unit is going to be $30. So that's what that is. And I know how much you guys like me inserting these arrows all over the place, so I'm gonna do just that. Okay, so the selling price is 40. The variable costs are 30. That's money going out. And now for the trick question. What would our additional fixed cost be? Where should I put this in? Right. Let me change this for a second. Additional fixed costs. What would our additional fixed costs be? And I'm warning you, it's a trick question. 0, yes. There won't be any. Now, they didn't tell us they changed any up there, so there would not be any additional fixed costs. So the question is, do you need to put that in? Nah, not really. So our additional income would be 40,000 minus 30,000 is 10,000. Okay, so would you want to take this special order? Dollar signs and these. Yes, exactly. Yeah, you'll be $10,000 better off if you take the special order. And it's not going to change, this fixed cost per unit. Now we can figure out what the total fixed costs are. Total fixed costs are 10,000 times 14. What is that? 140,000. We can figure out what they are, but they're not going to change. If that was rent, for example, the fact that we made another 1,000 units isn't going to make a difference with that. So, should they set special order? The answer is goof up everything. Yes, and the reason why, oops. Clean this up. Wait, I goofed that up. Here we go. Okay. So yes, you want to take a screenshot of that? Yes, actually, you'll have an additional 10,000 of income if the special order is accepted. So they would want to take this. It would mean they'd have 10,000 more of income. It will have nothing to do with their fixed cost of 140,000 or whatever. Questions? Okay, let's go. Oh, I think I already answered this one, but what would have been the impact on total fixed costs if the order were accepted? Let's just say special order. Yep. See, unchanged. Total fixed costs won't change, and that's why they're not relevant to our decision making. By the way, just to let you know how different this is than before Horngren wrote his book, if they're making a decision making, before this book came out, they would have used the $14 in there, and they would have came up with 1,000 times 14, so it'd be $14,000. This would have not been taken because they'd say, "Wait a minute, these fixed costs are $14 per unit, and we'll put those in." And Horngren was like, "No, don't put the fixed costs in. They're not relevant. Our fixed costs are this much per unit. They're not really. Fixed costs don't have anything to do with units. If you're paying rent, the landlord doesn't care if you sell one bicycle or 10,000 bicycles, whatever you agree on for the rent, that's what you're paying." So in the past, before Horngren, and it sounds kind of funny now, simple now, but before Horngren, they would put all these costs and they'd say, "Oh, we can't do it." And this is why we had, most of your stores and things like that would close at, a lot of stores, grocery stores would close at 6 at night. They'd open at 8 in the morning, close at 6 at night. Your department stores, those would sometimes be open. Sometimes they'd be open till 8 p.m. and at least one night a week they'd usually be open till 8 p.m. And there was almost like grocery stores. I lived through this. I know it's like ancient history, but I remember my parents' work, and so Friday night the grocery store was open until 8 o'clock. So that's when they went and bought groceries. Is Friday at they get home from work because they couldn't go during the day. Both my parents worked, so. Okay. And nowadays, the grocery store by our house, the Jewel, is open till midnight, which would have been like falling from Mars if It happened back when I was growing up. Okay, one-time special order. Okay, now notice that the order here is a little bit goofed up. And what I mean by that is the special order is first, and then they have the regular production down here. So it's changed a little bit. Oops. Ooh. All right, I'm gonna leave it. So. Okay, so we have we now know that we're just going to look at the special order. So we're not going to really do anything with this regular production and how much they're making from the regular production. But we want to see how much this one-time special order is, what it's worth. Okay. So we're only focusing on the one-time special order because it's not going to change our regular production. And like the one up here above, oh, here. The alternatives are regular production and special order or regular production. Well, regular production is going to be there either way. So special order is the only thing we're going to look at. And so we're going to look at the additional sales. Additional variable costs. You don't have to put this one in. I'm going to put it in just for yucks. Additional fixed costs, and then we'll have our additional income. So again, we only need to look at the special order because the regular production is not going to change. Okay, so someone comes to us, they want to buy 1,000 units at $85 each. Okay, so $85 is the selling price. And they want what? 10,000 units? Don't. So our sales will go up by, let's see, 5 times 10,000. 850,000. You want to check that? I think that's right. And I've never been wrong before, so. Okay, so we go to variable costs, and what is the problem we're going to have with variable costs? How much is it per unit? Yes, very good. It's $40 per unit. So they don't give us the per unit cost, but we can calculate it by And this equals $40 per unit. Oh, no, not that. Hold on. I'm going to do something here. I should do this with all of them. I don't know why I got them all centered here. This makes it more confusing. Yeah. Look how much better that is. See, I've learned something today. All right. So, yeah, we can get the per unit cost by dividing it by the 25,000. So we're not going to use the regular production numbers to calculate the income, but we can use them to figure out how much it is per unit. We could figure out how much the fixed costs are per unit, but it's kind of a nonsense number. Depends on how many units you make. Okay, so this is $40 per unit. So we're going to take $40 times 10,000 units equals 400,000. Now this is going to be a negative 400,000. There's no fixed costs. I put in there just for kicks. Actually, in real life, when you're doing stuff like this, you if there is something that's zero, you generally want to put that in so people don't think you forgot it. No, wrong. Okay, so the additional income is $450,000. So, do they want to take the special order? Yep, very good. Yeah, they'll be $450,000 better off. I'm going to copy this up here because I'll probably rearrange the wording and be confusing if I don't. So, should they take the special order? Yes, they'll have an additional 450,000 of income. Really learn how to use arrows. That's what I want to emphasize today. Using arrows to make something simple look very confusing. Okay, so let's go ahead and stop here and take a break. Let's say be back at is that at 258, so 308. I'm gonna go let my dogs out so they can harass the neighbors. If you're a dog, that's like the highlight of your day, I think. Okay, so I'll be back at 8:03. No, 3:08. And see you shortly. Okay, let's take a look at number 3. Hold on. Let's change this the way it should have been when I first made the handout. Okay. I'm not sure why I thought that was a good idea to. Oh, don't do that. Okay. So here's our regular production. We have our one-time special order. $45, and the question is, should we take it? And again, this is a special order decision. They tell us that the regular production is without changing. I should probably, at this point, I should probably tell you a little bit. It is possible the regular production would change. And if that did happen, you'd have to account for that. For example, if you had to take off some of your regular production sales to fill this special order, a lot of times companies don't do that because the regular production is for the regular customers. But if that were the case, maybe if this was a large enough order, you might be able to take off some of the regular production. That comes into account. So in this case, the whatever you would take off your regular production, regularly you sell it for 70 and you sell it for 45. So there would be a reduction of however many in your production that you had to take off. So for example, let's say that your total production you could make was 17,000. That would mean to make this special order, you would have to give up 1,000 of your regular production. And so you have to take the difference in these two prices by 1,000. That would be the opportunity cost that you gave up. So if you don't have the excess capacity to make the special order, it does become a little bit more complicated because you will be giving up. There'll be an opportunity cost there. You'll be giving up some of your regular production. Okay. So let's do the problem at hand. How about? That's right. Okay, so our one-time special order. And again, we don't have to worry about the regular production because it's not going to change. And anything that doesn't change is not relevant. Okay, so minus. And by the way, same thing is true for additional fixed. If there are additional fixed costs, then it is possible that you have additional fixed costs that would be added in. For instance, if there's something in your lease or something that says you couldn't produce more than 15,000, or else you have to pay a certain amount extra money, or I don't know, whatever it is. So it is possible that the fixed cost in total would change. But yeah, unless they tell you that, you don't have to worry about it. Okay. So additional sales, a selling price. Uh, 135. Better multiply it out. 135,000. All right, so there's our special order. Okay, and now we need the variable cost. Has anyone come up with a variable cost per unit yet? Variable cost per unit would be, yep. Okay, so they don't come out and tell us what the variable cost per unit is, but we can figure it out by dividing it. Let me label that. I don't think I labeled that in the other one. Okay, so $50. That's too big. There we go. All right, 50, 3,000 minus 150. Oh, okay, so this one is additional fixed costs. Can you put that in? No, not really. So our additional income. Okay, so would we want to do this special order? Nope. Very good. Yeah, we would not want to do this special order. the company will have 15,000 less of income if the special order is have. So no, we don't want to lose money. This would be losing money on it. And so again, this is the author of the book, Charles T. Horgan, and this is kind of his claim to fame is that he got people thinking in the lines of basically of what they call the incremental amount or the additional cost rather than the total cost. Now this one is it's a no go anyways. So, but yeah, so this would be how we would do it, and we're basically looking for those things that would change. Only the things that would change between the alternatives. I'm going to say something really quickly, and then I'm going to then we'll call it a day. But you see how I got this additional fixed cost in here of 0, and the question is, do you need it for the answer? No, you don't need it for the answer. But I will tell you something about why, if you are doing reports like for your business or something, if you're in business or you're a manager or something, and especially if you're an accountant, it's important to put stuff like this in because what you don't want to have people come back is they'll say, well, where's the additional fixed costs? And they'll look like you didn't consider that. And one of the reasons I tell you this, I was an auditor for years, and when I was at Navistar, we had this operation that actually we'll get to it next week, but next week. It was called a make or buy. We could buy it from somebody else or make it ourselves. And anyway, as I'm going through this thing, and they had no calculations for the change in the number of people working. They're going to have this big operation that was being done by somebody else, and they were going to still have there was nothing about reduction of labor costs or anything, and I thought it was an error. And I come to find out later on, that, and after we went round and round and finally tracked down the person that made the proposal, is that we had a union contract that said we couldn't go below a certain number of people employed. And so we couldn't, they couldn't lay off the people, even if they had this, another company make the product for them, we couldn't lay off people. So it actually was 0. The number of people working there wasn't going to change whether we did this or not. And so, one of the it's kind of a weird thing, but that was like a case that direct labor, hourly people, were actually not relevant because the same amount of people were going to show up whether we did this or not. But anyway, if you put stuff like that in there, then people reading the proposal will know that that's been accounted for. So sometimes putting something that's is not relevant sometimes can save questions later. I think we're going to stop there. I don't want to muddy the waters too much. So next week we'll go into the make or buy and machine replacement. I think. Let me check and make sure I'm saying that right. Make or buy, equipment replacement. Oh, eliminate unprofitable segments. Okay, we'll have a full plate next week. Okay, any questions? Okay, I think we'll call it a day here then, and I will see you in a week. I know some of you have already turned in the Chapter 10 exam. If you have not, it's theoretically due this Friday. Your grade will just look not so good until you turn it in. But yeah, so try to get that in by Friday, and they'll keep you up to date in the class, and that'll be a part of your grade when it goes in. Any questions? Okay, enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you guys in a week. Oops. I'll learn how to use my computer by then, I promise.